Hey, good afternoon, folks. Clint from Pik Rite here again. Wanted to go over this blower a little bit with everyone. Unfortunately, not every truck that we build gets picked up here by the end user. Sometimes a dealer might be picking it up and have some questions on what we have going on here as far as how this works. So pretty straightforward. Vacuum neutral pressure up top, like you may be familiar with a traditional vane pump. Handle works, obviously. Flush kit. If you've got a tank up front here for the flush kit, that blower should be flushed in pressure. So put the handle in pressure and flush that way. Opening the door here, you got two latches. Inside can look a little intimidating, but pretty straightforward. Serial number plate. You got 3 grease fittings, a vent, a hose that says fill, and a filter pot. So starting here at these grease fittings, these simply grease the vacuum neutral pressure handle. So if you follow those lines, they just go right up and grease. On a traditional vane pump where you're using oil all the time, that gets lubricated. On these blowers that don't have airflow with oil going through them, you need to grease that. So you'll notice that the handle starts to get stiff. Just give them a couple shots of grease. So these blowers do not use oil like a traditional vane pump. They have oil in 2 cavities. This front cavity, and then there's a rear cavity. So the front one, it's very easy to look at the sight glass here. If I can get my phone in, you can see there's oil in it. And underneath in the foam, to change the oil, there's a plug. You drop out these 2 bolts. And there's a drain plug on the bottom and a fill plug on the top. And you fill it up till it's halfway in the sight glass. And that's a 220 synthetic oil. Same way with the back. There's a plug on the back as well. The sight glass is way back in there. You can see it with a flashlight a lot of times. You've got the drain, and that's what this fill hose is for. And then this is the vent to vent the gearbox to help fill it. So pretty straightforward. Moving down to the filter. This filter comes off with these 4 wing nuts. Very simple. It says clean filter regularly. You'll notice a performance difference in the pump, or you'll notice a little bit of temperature increase. Speaking of temperature, max operating temperature 280 over ambient. Moving over here, of course, the bottom you've got your vacuum pressure gauge, and on the top you've got a temperature gauge. So 280 over ambient, that's all the way over here at 380. Well, that's real hot. You got problems there. So I tell all my customers, just visually, if it's straight up and down, you ought to be looking at the filter, see what you got going on. So kind of just a rule of thumb. If it's straight up and down, something isn't right. And that's on a 100-degree day. So keep that in mind. We don't get many of them. So everything that we do should, all our manuals for PTO, blower, all components will be right inside the truck door here in this packet. If you read that, it'll tell you that you should be changing the oil in the blower the first 500 hours of a break-in, and then every 1,000 hours after that. I've had a couple customers follow that, track that on the truck PTO hour meter, and virtually it comes down to about once a year. So any questions, give us a call.